So all of my pieces are scored and slipped on. You can see here I've got some overhang on the sides. So I'm just going to cut that off. Just want to be really careful. I like to look straight down on this. It's a little hard to do sitting. I definitely recommend standing up to do this. So I slice these off. There we go. And if you're really thrifty and you're good at saving things, you can actually save these for putting a flange on your box later. Okay, so I've cut them off. I want to smooth out all of these cut marks. Remember the irony of ceramics, to get things really smooth, first you have to rough them up. So I'm just going to rough those up and smooth them out. Use a tool. You can use those 10 little tools that come on your hands. Those always work really great. The other thing that I want to do is make sure the top is even. My squares may not have been exactly square, so you see here the slab is a little bit higher. There's not an official great way to do this. I usually just try and sort of shave off a little bit with a nice sharp blade, and try not to cut too deep. There we go. One more. Alright, so now I would usually go and smooth out all of this stuff, but I will leave it for now. So there are really two kinds of lids that we can make. The first kind of lid has a flange that's going to set into the cavity of the box and stop the lid from falling off. So you see this square I've cut down to about the same size as my box, and I'm going to set a flange inside. Now to do that, I have to look at the width of the clay of my slabs here and come in. And I actually like to draw myself a little guide. If you have to, it's better to go a little too small than a little too large. If you go to a little too small, your box's lid will be a little wobbly. If you go too big, the lid's never going on again. So what I'm going to do now is score and slip a flange onto this box, and a flange can be made of a coil. Like I said, if you were thrifty and careful, you can actually use these little guys, which you cut off the edges for your flange. So just cut down the middle. And score them up. And attach them that way. So I'll put on a little slip here. And it's just like building the box, only in miniature this time. So I'm going to go ahead and set my slabs, little mini flange slabs right on there, and set up the flange that way. So now I've attached the flange to the lid here, and I want to make sure that it fits on the box. Just double check. There it is, and that box would be ready to go. So that's the flange style lid, but there's also another kind. So for this lid, I'm actually going to seal the box. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to score and slip up the whole top of the box, and I want to double check that the inside is in fairly good shape, that I did any smoothing on the inside that I want to do, because I'm not going to see it for a while. So really good scoring. And I'm also going to score up the lid. Remember that this lid is larger than your box, so you're going to have to come in a little more than just the edge. So let's get some nice deep scoring. Okay, so I think this is easiest to do upside down. Just remember that it's the top and not the bottom. Now, sometimes, especially your first box, Your perfect square may not be a perfect square, and that's why we cut this part bigger. So when we turn this upside down, if it's not exactly the right size, that's fine, because look, we have all this extra to work with. So I'm gonna go ahead and smooth my corners right here. Smooth them all in to make it a good connection. And then you can take your fettling knife, or if you prefer, the little sharp knife, and you're just going to cut any extra off. Do that all 4 sides. Now after I do that, if you're doing a box where you're doing sgraffito, so you need to add slip, that is a good time to do it. But what we're going to do next is we're actually going to cut the lid off. Alright, so here I have a solid cube. Well, not solid, it's hollow inside, but it's all sealed up. So usually now I would take a lot of time and make this really, really super smooth and beautiful. This is also a good time if you wanted to make your corners rounded while it's still sealed and it's still got all the air in it. You can actually just do things like tapping it on the corners, and you can make fun little shapes. Get that nice old-timey pirate chest look. So what I need to do now is decide how I want to cut the top. Now there are some very big no's on this, and you're just going to stop your box from ever opening again. So I'm going to draw a few lines that you really do not want to do. So right here, let me find that good side. If I did a line like this from my top, I'm going to have a serious problem, because once this is fired and dry and the clay is no longer flexible, I'm never going to be able to lift this top off. These little inserts here have actually locked it. So that one is a definite no. So if I wanted that sort of style, a good idea is to take my angles the other way and make them really nice and easy to open. Some people will try sort of 90 degrees. I don't even suggest 90 degrees. The friction of the clay itself will actually stop it from opening sometimes. Same thing with curves. You don't want any undercuts, any parts that go over. That's just really not going to work for you. It's going to lock your box up. The other thing that I really advise against is any really, really small things. So if you do something like this, you may find that your points break off and that it really, the glaze pools down there and it seals. So keep your shapes big, keep them simple, not too many undercuts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use like a simple curve, and I'm just going to take it all the way around the box on each side. I want to make sure that my ends line up. I'm going to double check where I'm going. It's always good to have a destination in mind. And once I've drawn them lightly with the pin tool, then I'm going to go and take this little X-Acto tool and cut all the way through. When you're making your box, don't let it get too dry before you do this, or else you might find that the whole thing falls apart when you go to cut your lid. So now I've cut through all my sides. Voila. The top of your box will still be messy because you haven't had a chance to go in and fix it. So now is the time. Go in, get rid of all those little marks that you made earlier. Make sure that your joints are really nice and smooth and strong so the lid doesn't pop off. The other thing you want to do now is also go in and fix all of these sides. One thing that I kind of like to do is take a sharp knife and I just shave a little bit off the corner to slightly round the edge of the box to get a better fit. So once you've finished cleaning up everything that you need to clean up, you are ready to go.